Hi everyone, and welcome to today's expert interview with Bradfield, who is here to speak to us all about how to sell with confidence in your business. I'm super excited to cover this topic because I think that sales is an area of our business that a lot of us struggle with, but it's so vital to having a successful business. So welcome, Faye. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great of you to generously give us your time to come in here and chat to us all about sales. And I know that we're all going to get a lot out of this conversation today, including myself. So
amazing.
Yeah. Would you like to take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to the point where you became a sales coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I love when people ask me the journey because my journey actually started, I actually was so bad at sales. And I love being able to tell that story because, and I'll get into it in a little bit, is because a lot of people think in their business, oh, I'm so bad at sales, I can never convert clients, but it is a skill. And I love being able to say that actually I started in a sales role and I was terrible at sales. It's just that I put in the time and gained that skill and became really, really good at it. So my background, I had my first sales job when I was 20. This was back in the day before Instagram was really a business tool. It was literally going into business cold, hoping to get their attention and, to hopefully sell the products to them. And I was so bad at it. Like I was so young and I didn't really even understand, like I just didn't know what I was doing. And what I realized with sales, it was commission based. So I had to make sales to be able to make a living, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same as in business because we rely on sales to be able to keep the business going and be able to pay ourselves as well. But I was so bad in this role. And I realized that it was actually something that I had to get good at. I had to get good at it. Otherwise I wasn't going to be paid enough money to be able to live. And so I ended up going into another sales role and I was trained within the company there on lots of different sales techniques and tools to be able to help me in that role. And then I moved into another company where I was an educator. And basically the educator's role was to go into the business first and then basically take someone through a process to get them ready to buy so that when the salesperson actually came in, so we worked alongside the sales reps, they only had to come in and take the order. And that's where everything changed for me. I really understood that when I was a salesperson, the reason in the early stages that I was really struggling was I was going in to a business wanting them to buy. So I was going in selling to them versus when I was an educator, although I'd built my sales skills at this point, I actually really understood that what my role was actually taking someone through a process to get them ready and wanting to buy so that when the salesperson came in, they were like, yep, cool, I want this, put the order down for this. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. And it was really then that I understood the difference between selling to someone and taking someone through a process to buy, which is everything that I teach because, selling to someone can come across as pushy, but this was such a game changer for me. And then I went on to another sales role and this is where I really started to study psychology and understand human behavior, why people do the things in their life that they do, not only buy, but why do some people succeed at some things and others don't? And, I looked at things like the 5 love languages and understand that we all like to be communicated in different ways and really understood lots of different things in Tony Robbins and just people and psychology in general. And that's so important because we make decisions for selling in our brain. And I think a lot of people forget that. I think we forget that we're actually talking to somebody and they're making that decision in their mind. So we really need to understand the psychology around what is someone thinking and feeling and what do we need to say and do with integrity to get them to buy. So that was my journey. It really started from, I say, humble beginnings of being what I say, a really bad sales role. And the reason why like I said, love to talk about that is if you're sitting there thinking, I'm scared of sales. I hate sales. You know, I don't know how to do sales. I get it because I've been there as well. And I want to be the person to be able to show you that it just takes learning the skill and having that confidence to be able to completely change everything.
That sounds super interesting, especially how you say it's the process before the actual pitch. That is where the real sales takes place. My first role was actually in sales as well.
I love that. How did you go?
Good. I think I was more of a salesperson that dealt with the actual order once it was ready, like you say, right at the end, whereas the kind of work in terms of converting them had actually already been done. Like I feel like it was more of an account manager role.
Yes. Yeah.
But I had the urge to get into digital. So I was kind of like out of there as soon as I could.
Yeah. Yeah. Always being pulled to our passion, right?
Yeah. But I feel like those skills that I learned in that, I think I was in that role for 4 years, you know, like I definitely have used it a lot in business.
Absolutely.
But I think that what you talk about, the consumer psychology stuff, doesn't really get touched on a lot of sales training, because I've also done sales training with Google as well, and they don't really talk about that stuff. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did a wee survey in this group and asked, you know, what's the biggest thing that people struggle with sales? And a lot of the ladies answered and said that a real common thread that came through was that, you know, getting to that sales pitch or point of the conversation and getting that like yucky feeling of being overly salesy and kind of having flashbacks of all the times that we've been forcefully sold to by a salesperson who really didn't, you know, like maybe felt like didn't really care about what was best for us. Instead, they just wanted to make the sale. So what's your response to that, you know, when you hear that a lot of people don't want to sell on their business because they hate feeling salesy or pushy?
I love this question. And it's so crazy that like having that mindset is stopping so much potential and so many people's business growing. And I really kind of see it as sales isn't pushy. Sales people choose to be pushy or not. And pushiness is a behavior. So if we just decide that we're not going to be pushy, you can't be pushy. So I like to ask my clients, or, you know, in my workshops, that I want you to think of a time that you had a really negative experience in sales, and think about like when you were sold to and it felt pushy, and maybe you even regretted your decision in buying, and then write down how you felt, why you felt like that, and what did the salesperson do to make you feel like that. And then on the other side, I want you to think about something that was a really positive experience. And I always say you have to dig deep for this, because we're so like, we always remember the bad experiences, but it's so hard to remember the good experiences. But it could be something as little as you signed up to a personal trainer and you felt like you were really going to take your health to the next level, or you bought a new dress, or could be anything. You bought a new home, whatever it was, and you had such a good experience and you felt so good. And then writing down why you felt so good and what did the salesperson do and say to make you feel like that. Because I believe that if we've experienced a really good sales process and that wasn't pushy and we felt really good as a result, we can also create that for our clients as well. Because I think that if we focus on all the times that I got pushed and it felt salesy, but it's like we need to actively and consciously think about when were the times that were good and positive experiences, and how can I recreate that? How can I mirror that experience? What did that person say? How do they make me feel? And what can I say to make somebody else feel like that as well? So that's just a little activity that I find helps a lot of people, because we often don't think about the positive experiences. But I know there's been so many times that I've felt so good from buying something or signing up to something. And if I felt like that on the receiving end, then I can create that for somebody else as well. So that's the first thing, is really start to, I guess, bring that into your awareness and notice that there's a lot of sales processes out there that aren't pushy. The second thing is coming from a place that sales is serving. And I'm huge on this, because you can really come from a heart-centered place when it comes from selling. And I think the first thing is detaching from the outcome and kind of not looking at what we're taking from the sale as well. Because if we're focused on like, we're getting this money in return, it can seem selfish. Anything in life, when we focus on what we're getting rather than what we're giving, sometimes it can be self-centered, feel selfish, and then all of that kind of plays out, even further, right? So if we detach ourselves, one, from the outcome, that, we're not going in there expecting a sale or demanding a sale or hoping for a sale or needing a sale, then we're not, those feelings actually create pushiness, because we're like, please sign up, and then we start, going into the trying to convince people to buy and all of that sort of stuff, right? Which
that desperation type feeling as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And that can come across as pushy. So firstly, sidetracking a little bit, having sales skills to take someone through that process, you won't get to a point that you're being desperate, right? So that's another thing. But when we detach ourselves from the outcome, all we're really doing is taking someone through a process to help them make the best decision for them. And if we just focus on that, because at the end of the day, we don't want clients that wish they never signed up with us. We don't want people buying our product thinking, oh, I wish I didn't spend this much money on this thing, right? Yeah. We want them excited about that. We want them to be so sure about their decision. So that's all we're doing, taking someone through a process. And if that decision at the end of the day is a no, then that's their decision. That might have been the best decision for them at the time. Yeah. But we have to detach the outcome, because it's not about us. Our business is never about us. We're always there to facilitate for somebody else's needs and to change their outcome. And when we really start to understand that, we actually come from a place of serving rather than selling.
Yeah. That sounds like such a better way to sell, like totally avoiding that whole pushy salesperson feeling, So can you give us an idea of a sales process that kind of incorporates all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously this is where sales and marketing work so well together. And I'm sure everybody in your group has such a good understanding of gaining that visibility and taking them through the process in terms of capturing them, for their email address. This is kind of the I guess, fundamental way of capturing them to begin with from a marketing perspective. But then in terms of where it starts to roll into the sales process is it's actually being really clear what you want them to do. If that's because you're selling products on your website, being really clear in that email being sent out to them or on social media to go through your website. Same as, if you're qualifying people over the phone, being really clear that the next step is to get on the phone. And we can do something like setting the agenda. So I might use an example, let's say a 3-day challenge as an example. Mm-hmm. So what I see a lot of people do is they might say something like, great, so we've got the 3-day challenge, you get a video on every day. And then on day 3, all of a sudden they're like, you also get a bonus call, book in, and it's just this crazy madness thing that's happening, right? Or, now my product's available. In terms of setting up a really good sales process, it's about setting the agenda. So on day 1 of the challenge, you might say something like, great, so this is a 3-day challenge. Over the 3 days, you're going to get a 15-minute video. I suggest you mark out half an hour after that so that you can implement the training. And then on day 3, you'll get a link to book a call with me. And the reason why I've booked that call is X, Y, and Z. So you've already said at the start by setting the agenda that you're going to get on the phone with them, right? So we're talking to the subconscious here. They already know what's going to happen. So it's really in sales, from where marketing meets sales, setting the agenda is the biggest, it's the most important in the sales process, because otherwise people will go in the sales process and they won't get to that conversion piece because you're not sending them there.
Yeah. Okay. So would you recommend to set an agenda at the start of a sales call, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. So if, for example, let's just say you're a service-based business, because that's why you'd be on the phone, you would say something like, great, so thanks so much for getting on the phone with me today. In the next 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is find out a little bit more about you and your health, business, whatever it is you're helping them with. And that's just for me to get a better understanding of where you're at. If at the end of that 30 minutes, if I feel like I can support you, then I can talk about working together. How does that sound? And then they've given you permission as well. So you've basically told them what's going to happen is I'm going to find out about you. And then if I feel like I can help you, I'm going to sell to you, right? Sell. We're going to offer something to you that can help you. And so what that does is it tells them exactly what's going to happen through the process. They know you're going to offer your packages to them at the end.
Yeah. Because I feel like that whole, and maybe it's not getting taught so much anymore, but, you know, a few years back, this is kind of an American-based model as well, that you give away the freebie or whatever it is that kind of brings people into your, you know, like gets them on your email list or whatever it is, like takes that next step of commitment to get them into your community. And then there's kind of like, here's the value, and then sales pitch. And that transition can feel really uncomfortable for people. And I think like if you're in a webinar type situation as well, I know people struggle a lot from going from the adding value to the switch to the sales pitch. So that asking permission sounds like it's pretty key.
100%. And I think as well, it's going back to, if we don't sell, we're doing a disservice to the people in front of us. I remember I had to learn this lesson actually through a friend. I was actually a sales coach at the time, and it was this big lesson that hit me in the face, and she wanted to work with me. And I said, I don't work with friends. I just don't work with friends. This was early on. And she said, okay, so do you want me to hire someone that I don't know can get me results? And I was like, whoa. I was like, wow, if I don't work with you, I'm doing you a disservice. And I think that's the thing when it comes back to sales mindset. If people have opened up all your emails, they want more, right? And if we don't give them more, it's like we're actually holding back from them something that they really need.
And they have a choice to be there for that free stuff. Like, you're not forcing anyone to follow you or listen to what you're saying or anything like that.
Absolutely. And something I'll touch on that as well is statistically 3% of people are actually ready to buy at any point. So I believe sometimes the value sell can be a little bit too long because someone wants to buy straight away. Like 3% of people, that's 3 in 100, right? So there's ways to soft sell and hard sell throughout this process to capture all types of consumer buying behavior. But a lot of people run their business on the 3%. So these 3% of people already are ready to buy. Like, you could say anything and they're already a yes, right? So a lot of people get stuck and think, oh, my sales, I'm doing all right. But it's just because they're running their business on the 3%. If you want to grow and really scale your business, you need to have strategies in place for different types of buyers. So the next type of buyer actually needs to be followed up. So for example, they're going to be the person who, once you've done your call to action, let's say to get on the phone, they're actually going to need another email after that saying, hey, I actually noticed that you didn't book your call. Are you still interested in having chat? This type of person needs to be followed up. And we get so scared of following up, don't we? We're like, oh my God, they're not interested. I'm not going to talk to them again. But these people actually rely on being followed up because they need that time to think about it. And then they actually need, how do I explain it? There's people who can make their own decisions, and there's people who need someone to make decisions for them. So have you ever been in a situation where someone's like, well, what do you think? Do you think
100%,
I should do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those people are the people that need following up. They need you to take them through a process. And because we have so much fear around selling to someone and having that conversation and telling people, yes, that I think it's a really good idea that you sign up, we're actually losing those people a lot of the time as well. So going back to the email, it's like, don't be scared to sell even before that fourth email, but in a soft way. So it could say something like, hey, here's your freebie. If you've got any questions about it, or you want to dive a little bit deeper, just flick me an email back here, or you can book in a call here with me. Happy to give you 30 minutes, absolutely complimentary. And it wouldn't be a big button, and it's kind of conversational in the language, but it's just kind of got that little link in there that if somebody is ready to take action at that point, they can. And then we want to go through the process, more value, and then more of a bigger sell.
Yeah, so it's almost like making yourself available to the conversation, but not necessarily the pitch at that point, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really conversational. It's making yourself available, because I think that a lot of people hold themselves back saying, I need to build value. But like, have you ever had someone book in an inquiry call and you're like, you don't even follow me. I don't know where you've come from. And then they're like, yep, on the phone, because they're a yes person.
Yeah, so some people need very little. I totally agree.
Exactly. So if we don't allow that space and that opportunity there, we'll actually lose those people as well. Versus there's another type of person that we really want to focus on as well, and they're educational based people. So that's where they'll be on your email list forever, like forever. Like they comment on things, they like on things, they might be lurking, and they basically love consuming content around the problem or what things that they need a solution for. But it's only when there's something that's like perfect for them. Maybe it's an added bonus, maybe it's discount, which I'm not a big fan of discounts, but these people, that's what entices them, or like a once-off limited edition product, or, whatever it might be. These people will jump at that as well.
Okay, so it's about being in the right place at the right time with them.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the customer journey, right? Like sometimes someone can be in your vortex for like 3 or 4 years before they decide to. And I think sometimes as a business owner, it can become discouraging. But you've just got to remember it's about the long game, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, again, that comes down to how sales isn't pushy, because how I feel like a lot of people run their business is, okay, are you going to be my client sales call or whatever? Nope. Okay, where's the next person? And they're constantly looking for the new client, but that person could become a client.
Yeah.
But you've given up on them. You've turned your back on them. I've had a client sign up with me. She was in one of my masterclasses in February last year. And then she signed up, I think, in November. It took her 10 months. And she just popped out of the blue on Instagram saying, hey, can I have a chat with you? And I was like, you came on my masterclass in February, like this is so long ago, but she's been watching me the whole time. And she was like, I resonate with you so much. And I think that we need to remember that people buy in different ways, and you really do need to have strategies for all types of buyers.
And that's why it's so important to be consistent with your marketing in between times, like all the time really, so that those people who are slightly interested don't forget about you, because they keep seeing you and keep seeing what you're about. Because otherwise, if you're not, like I find that in digital marketing, there's a lot of female business owners who are sometimes struggle to make themselves visible because, there's all sorts of mindset stuff related to that. But the reality is if you're not there, someone else is going to kind of take your place and get the attention of those people who were actually already potentially interested in buying from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. You just hit the nail on the head. People want to buy from you. They want to buy from you. They want to see you. They want to know more about you. They want to hear from you. And it is really about being okay in that process. And I think women do really struggle, especially with sales. And, I even found when I, left my job and became a sales coach in my own business, there's not a lot of women teaching sales, because I think it feels like there's meant to be that masculine energy around it. And I think a lot of women kind of, yeah, exactly. But it doesn't have to be like that. And it's the same with marketing. you can do it still in a really beautiful, heart-centered, serving way that your customers are going to absolutely love and adore anyway.
Mm. Yeah, it's so important to show up and be visible.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole, like you see a lot of companies pitching like a free strategy session, but then it's really a sales call.
Mm.
What would you, how do you feel it's best to kind of frame that prior to someone booking?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of my biggest personal and business values is integrity. And I think that when you are, going in your sales process and your marketing process, I believe that if you go from a place of integrity, you are playing the long game. If you're going to lie to people and try and get quick wins, you're got an expiry date, right? And I truly believe that the way we present ourselves in marketing and in sales creates our reputation, and reputation can thrive or it can burn. So again, I think that it is a really great technique and strategy, that it's staying true to your word. If that's a strategy call and it's 30 minutes, it better be 30 minutes of strategy, right?
Yeah.
Stick to your word. Don't go, oh, it's a sales call. If you think that it's going to be a sales call at the end, you set the agenda saying, great, so what I'm going to do over this next 30 minutes is we're going to look at your strategy. I'm going to do a bit of an audit, have a look at anywhere that there is, missed opportunities. If I feel like I can help you with any of those missed opportunities, then we can talk about how I can support you ongoing. Would that be okay? Right? Set the agenda. We've asked permission. That 30 minutes needs to be value-based. We need to stay to our word. And I think that's where it comes so important to be able to, when you're going into your sales process, knowing that you're never doing the wrong thing by somebody. And then you've already asked permission that at the end of that call, if you feel like you can help them, but that better be at 31 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I'm not being as specific as, down to the minute, but you still want to add that value. That's what you offer them. That's what you give them. It's only if that process comes up, then you have the ability to offer them something else.
Yeah. So again, it comes back to that setting the agenda and asking for permission to sell.
Honestly, if you ask permission to sell, you can't go wrong. Like, I truly believe that. Like, somebody has said, yes, that's okay with me. And as well, throughout the sales call process, I like to segment and put bits in pieces that we're actually going through this process. And then when I say ask permission, you're not saying, do I have permission to go on? It's certain language that, it's seamless. They don't even know we're asking permission in a way, but we're just knowing that they're okay for us to move on, that we're doing that throughout the entire sales call. So we're not even presenting our offer until we've got permission. And then once we've got permission to move on, then we present the price, so we're always asking permission to move on through the sales process. I believe that's what works really well, because if you're moving together, like if the two of you are moving together, you're going through the process together. If somebody's backing going, oh, I don't know, and you're trying to move forward, you're never going to make the sale together anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. So I think another thing that came up when I asked the question in the group about what people struggle with sales is a few people just automatically went to the price thing, and that they kind of feel like they undervalue or undercharge because they know that they're worth more, but they don't feel like they can sell more. So I guess that relates to the point of the sales call that you're talking about. You get permission to start talking about your offer. What's your advice to someone who struggles at that point to actually, first of all, let the person know the price, and then have that kind of conversation without it turning all awkward and you feeling off, at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many layers to this, because first and foremost, you need if we need to work out, do they actually have the money to afford it, right? Because you might just be in front of the wrong audience, and this is a marketing thing. So I always say Virgin Airlines and Tiger Airways have flights to the same destination at the same time of day, but Virgin aren't sitting in their head office going, should we put our prices down, right? No one will pay for this. It's about market positioning firstly. So maybe you aren't. You might find if you are getting money objections, you might just need to get in front of a new audience that actually are willing and able to pay for your product or service. Because there's people out there of all, that's why I came out all the way to Gucci and beyond in business, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is when value outweighs price, price is irrelevant. But when price outweighs value, price will always be an objection. So I like to think of it as everybody has money to pay for anything they want. But what happens is we've got some top priorities that sit in that top space of like, I have to, it's even like when I think about coffee, some people will just get the coffee from the supermarket, and then some people will spend so much more and go to Nespresso, right? That's their priority. They want good coffee. So it could be anything. So we want to first get in their top priorities. So it really comes down to first, before they, like throughout that call and when we're presenting to them, we need to create the value in it. So it's taking them through a psychological journey on how to create that value and get them to acknowledge that they need it first. Again, I always teach how to get someone to a point ready to buy, right? So that you don't even have to sell to them. Yeah. So we want to use a sales call process that they're actually ready and wanting to buy anyway. But in terms of presenting, what we want to do is, I'll just go as an example and say, okay, so great. So from everything that you've said, you're currently experiencing this at the moment, and you'd prefer to be experiencing this. Is that right? And then you would say, yeah, definitely. Okay, great. So I think the best option for you that is going to help you would be this. Now, this is the inclusions. And then when we talk about inclusions, we want to talk about what's included, the logical side, and then why it's included, the emotional side. So let's just say they, as an example, my clients get unlimited access to me via a message app. So I'd say, great, so you get unlimited access to me through Boxer. Now, the reason why this is, so valuable is that I know that you're going to get stuck throughout the week, and I don't want you to wait till our next session. I'm going to be there. Even if you're not sure on what you have to do, you'll have my support, right? So logical and then emotion. Then once we've presented everything that's offered, we want to say, so does that sound exactly what you're looking for? And they'll go, yes. And then you go, is there anything else that you feel you need that isn't included? And they go, no. Okay, great. So that's perfect. Yes. Right? At this point, they've told me that everything that I've set up until this point, the package is perfect to them, everything. Then at this point, we want to take a breath. We'll say, great, so that's $1,000. Would you like to sign up? Right? So firstly, there's a lot of things when presenting price. We want to come from a place of being relaxed, because if you're nervous to present your price, your client on the other side is nervous. So we want to come from a really relaxed place that they feel safe, secure, really, there's nothing to worry about kind of space. The other thing is we've already got their permission that that's everything that they want. Yeah. Because if there's something else that they want, they'll bring it up. So we're actually, like I said, segmenting the objection. And then at this point, when we say price, we say, great. So for that, it's $1,000. Be quiet at this point. Because what most people do is they start going, but that includes this, and I think that'll be really good for you because it's 8 weeks, or you get this included. And then they just start going into this like nervous scramble, and it feels pushy, right?
So and then they start offering discounts.
Offering everything, Oh, and if you can't pay that up front, you can do a payment plan and you just choose the payment plan that suits you. And, oh, that's okay if you want to pay, start, whatever it might be. People just start, doing anything and everything at that point. But if you say it with absolute certainty, great. So that's $1,000. And the reason why we pause after that is because we have internal and external dialogue. Now, I always use the example, if you're looking to buy a bedspread and you're at the shop and you are looking at the bedspread and you're thinking in your head, is this the color I want? Would this print match my room? Do I need one? What's the price? What's this going to look like? And then the shop assistant comes over and says, can I help you with anything? And then you go, oh, no, thanks. And you just put it back. And then when you leave, you justify all the reasons why you didn't really need the bedspread anyway, right? So what we're allowing is, what happened in that situation was the internal dialogue was interfered with, which means people need to go away and think about it in the head. So internal being we think about it, external being we say it. So when we don't give people time to think about it and process that, they actually say, okay, let me think about it, because you haven't given them time to think about it. The problem at this point is when they think about it, they're going to go into the logical side of their brain and tell them the reasons why not to sign up or work with you or to buy are bigger than the reasons to buy, because we've left the emotional process in the sales call. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to give them that space. And what I find actually a lot of the time, you say, great, so that's $1,000. And people go, okay, so I'm just writing that down. And what they're doing, they say something that's really, like, you don't need to write one price down, right? But they're actually subconsciously stopping you from talking because they need to speak. They need to think, sorry. So yeah, by presenting the price, it's one, making sure that the package is exactly what they need, because you've built value by saying, okay, so that's perfect. They're like, yes. So this point price should be irrelevant.
Yeah. I think also, like, there's so many unconscious reasons why you get into that sales position where you're like, this is the price, and then that chatter starts. It's like that kind of whole not feeling worth the price and wanting to be liked and all of that stuff comes into it. But whereas you're saying just shut your mouth basically at that point and let them have their process, and you kind of take a step back and not be so involved in that. Yeah. Okay.
Because again, going back to the start, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Detach from the outcome. You've done everything you can. As long as you've built value and done a really good sales process, at the end of the day, the decision is theirs. Let them have their decision, right?
Yeah,
Let
totally.
them choose what they want in their life. Let them choose if that's the best decision for them. Because at the end of the day, when you come, and again, coming into an abundance mindset, like if somebody says no at the end to me, I also think at the end of the day, it makes no difference to me because another client's going to take that position. The only person that it makes a difference for is that person. So they're not going to make any changes in their business and they may not get any different results, right?
Yeah, because it depends on how badly they want the change in their business or whatever it is that you're selling. Like you say, everyone's got income that they're going to spend on what they value.
Absolutely. And I think as well, a lot of the time where, we think we have to do discounts and things like that, we need to remember that some people, statistically, their buying behavior is that they do need to get off the phone. And if we're trying to push them, then we've given all this extra away. We've probably deterred them anyway. Where if we just sat there and confidently said the price and then they said, let me think about it, then they'll probably come back to us in a day, because remember, some people need to be followed up. Allow them to buy the way they need to buy rather than trying to push them in that process. But yeah, I do think it comes, obviously, if they do think about it, we want to kind of ask them, as an example, if someone says, okay, cool, let me think about it, we'd say, yeah, absolutely. Take the time to think about it. I want you to make the best decision for you. but is there anything that you're hesitating on? And it's in the tonality that we use because it's curious. And then they might say, well, the price, right? So then we'd start having a conversation about price rather than saying, well, I can, do a discount or you can do a payment plan. We'd more so be coming from a place, let's say they're in a business. How many clients would you need to be able to pay for that? I might say 2. So only 2 clients. And they go, yeah, it's not really that much, is it? So they've overcome their own objection. So obviously that's a bigger piece than, what we can kind of dive into today, but it's allowing people to take that time if they need it and know that even when you're silent, they're not silent. They're having a full-blown conversation with themselves in their own head. So even though you're like, I need to talk, don't talk, because they are talking to themselves 10 times faster than anything else.
Yeah, because I have to say, being a potential buyer on the other side of that sales call, if there's that point where it comes to the money and you've got you can feel flooded with information. And the kind of first thing is to try and remove yourself from that situation as fast as you can. Like if you're in a
100%.
shop and you want to take your time and have a look around and a salesperson keeps coming up to you, you actually will do anything you can to start avoiding them.
100%. And that's the thing, that's why people try and do their sales process really quickly. I say, slow down. Don't go to the next step until you know that they're all in at the last step, right? We move together. People sometimes go so quick and they're like, I hope they don't say anything about the price. If you think they're going to say something about the price and you're nervous about them saying something about the price, they're going to feel that. But also we want to be able to overcome that before it becomes a problem. So we're segmenting. Right, cool. You ready to take the next step? Let's talk about this now. Happy? Ready to take the next step? Cool. Let's go into this now. Ready for me to talk about what's included? Cool. Let's talk about it. Happy with everything included? Is there anything else that you want? Nope, that's perfect for you. Great. So we just need to discuss price. This is the price. Happy with the price?
That brings me to another question. I see a lot of conversation online about whether or not to have your prices on your page before they even book in for a call.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It really depends on your ideal client and the relationship you have with people at that point. I think if you're going to have them on your page, at least have it as a downloadable thing. So you're capturing email addresses. So you're actually generating leads at that point. So rather than somebody, let's say, has their prices directly on their sales page or their service page, you could actually say, click here to see our prices. And then it's a button to a landing page to download the service guide, because then you've captured their email address, which means they're a potential lead at that point, which means then you can put your email marketing in place and then obviously go to the sales process from there. So if you are going to put them on your website, I would say capture that data if you can. The other thing of why not, it really depends on your prices and on your ideal client. So sometimes you can't, especially for coaches or some service providers, we can't build enough value on a website that's specific enough for somebody to see the value in that price, because sometimes they're not even aware of their own problems, right? It's through our process that we extract that. So if it's something that you can have the ability to take them through the sales process and show them, get them to acknowledge their own problems, and maybe that they're at a point that they're already aware of the need, then yes. But if you need to do that as an individual, then no.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people also having the similar conversation about why are sales pages so long? Why are they scrolling? Why are you scrolling for 10 minutes? And then people comment I just scroll to the bottom of the page and see the price anyway, it's a waste of time. But from my perspective, you've got to create that page as though that person has had no interaction or has no idea of the value that this thing, usually in that case it's like an online course or something, can actually provide. So you have to take people through that journey, I think. And I have found from people inquiring with me personally as a service provider that the ones that ask for price never, usually like 90% of the time, they will never become a customer because they're not my ideal client.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's so true what you say.
Absolutely. And it's really about making sure all that information's on there. And if you can, I mean, if it's a lower price, it's a lot easier to put on your website. But again, if you need to build that value and get them to acknowledge why they need it and take them through that process, then definitely not.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question is, where do you feel that most sales are lost in a typical sales process?
I would probably say the lack of skill to overcome objections, or lack of mindset, like being like, oh my God, I don't want to talk about the price, or I don't want to, talk about objections. I hope they just don't think about them. And also in the lack of follow-up, which we've spoken a little bit about already. But in terms of objections, we really want to start not being scared to bring them up, because at the end of the day, if your client's thinking about them, you might as well have a conversation about them. Just like, I use the example of, when they say, okay, the price, then you can start reverse engineering that price back of like, well, how many clients would that take for you to be able to pay that off? It's really not that much, right? So we want to be able to have that conversation. And again, remember, there's certain types of people who need that. There's certain types of people who need permission to take action. Like, they need someone else to tell them it's okay if you want to go ahead. Like, it's a good idea, right? There's people that need, I know it sounds crazy, but people need that. So yeah, it's the lack of objections, being able to handle them. And then in the follow-up, like, if I'll use an example of one of my clients, she basically had all of these leads from an expo that she did, and she didn't follow up with them in a year. And these were just like win a free something, and they were chucked in. So at an expo, people don't even really know what it is. They're like, something free, chuck it in, right? And anyway, she'd ignored them for a year. And I said to her, let's try and reactivate them. Let's try and follow up and see where they're at. She sent out an email to them and said, look, I'm doing a masterclass it was on nutrition, because she has a product that she creates a 30-day challenge that they can use the product for. So she said, I've got a masterclass for nutrition. She ended up getting 9 people on live, 4 converted into clients from people she hadn't followed up in a year. Like, if someone had ignored me for a year, I'd be like, screw you, like, right? But like, and they were long lost leads. Imagine if you just followed up with your leads that you had in the last month or two, right?
Yeah, I think that's what people forget. Like, as a business owner going into a sales conversation, you forget that people actually love to buy. Like, when I buy something, especially if it's a big investment, I find, like, in my business or whatever, it can be like super exciting to make the decision to decide that your business is actually worth the investment, and then to kind of get started. Like, that whole process is very exciting as a buyer.
100%. And that's the thing, like, we're not allowing people to do that. But remember, some people need to be followed up. So if you're not following up, then you're running on those 3% of people who are ready to buy, which is not sustainable. We can't grow our business on that. We can't, have consistency with that as well. But honestly, if you just follow up on the last, like, anyone that's just hanging around, I bet you're going to make sales.
Yeah. Do you think that some people like to be chased as well?
Yes and no. I think some people will be deterred from it because, well, it depends. People will already have made a decision, whether they're, even if they say, let me think about it, in their head, they're leaning more towards a yes or a no. Whether they've made their final decision or not, they are predominantly in one at that point, right? So if they are predominantly in the yes, but haven't made that final decision, then yes, people like to be followed up. Maybe they like to be chased as well. It comes down to, I don't know, you've done Tony Robbins and the 6 core needs of significance. It might fulfill their need that they're important to you and you really want to work with them. So I think it's a type of person that needs that feels, oh, okay, that I'm not just another person to them. They really want to work with me.
Yeah.
Leaning towards the no, but haven't really secured the no, the chase will actually completely turn you into a no as a buyer. Yeah.
Because another thing that I've experienced myself, but also I've seen people commenting on it as well, is when they get like ghosted. So they get I need to think about it at the end of a conversation, and then you do the follow-up and there's just no reply, or maybe they'll say, I'll get back in touch with you, and they never do. How would you approach those kind of leads? Would you consider them as done and you wouldn't follow up again, like maybe in 3 months or 6 months or anything like that?
Yeah. So firstly, I always say, if you know how to overcome objections, you lower your rejections, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a lot
awesome.
of people, isn't it? Like if you've got a lot of people that are letting you know, you actually need to work on your objection handling first. You should only have a small amount of people that are letting you know, right? Because again, they might have in their internal dialogue an objection that they decided not to talk to you about, and because you didn't bring it up or ask about it, then what happens is they've justified the reason why they don't want to buy is bigger than the reason why they do want to buy. So in terms of this, I always say, if you're going to double text, I always say, if you've already done a follow-up and you've been ghosted, the reason, if you can voice them, like if they're on social media, Facebook Messenger, text message, if you can send a voice message rather than a text message, the better for a double text. Yeah, because tonality has so much to do with it. So if I was to send a text message saying, hi, I know you haven't messaged me back, where are you at? Versus, hi Louise, how are you? Hey, I just wanted to send you a quick message. I know that you haven't sent me a message back. I know you've probably got busy. Would love to chat with you soon. Right? That sounds so different to a double text, firstly. But in that process, doesn't it? Like, tonality has to do with everything if you're converting people by voice. If you, what was I going to say? But we actually really want to go to them with something of value as well. So let's say you've got a free download, or you're doing a challenge, or you want to connect them with someone from what they said in their call, you know somebody that you could connect them with, then you want to go and give that value. So it could be, hi Louise, I just wanted to send you a quick message. I know you haven't got back to me just yet, but I just have this, I just created this ebook that I actually think, from our conversation that we had last week, I actually think that'll be helpful for you. So are you happy for me to send that to you? Asking, are you happy for me to send something to you? Are you happy for me to give something to you? It's awkward to not answer, right? So they're giving, would you like this? Yeah, absolutely. And then they'll be like, so sorry I didn't get back to you. And then they might even say, I had a time to think about it, and it's no. And that's okay. Obviously, again, we want to overcome objections to reduce rejection. So that's your first thing. But if that happens, we want to give something of value. Make it a different reason why you're messaging them for the second time than anything to do with the sale.
Yeah. Because I think that's when that pushiness and potentially the feeling of desperation coming through in a follow-up can kind of go in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that. Awesome. I feel like I've learned so much from you today, babe.
Oh, thank you. I could literally sit here for the next 3,500 days and talk about sales. So thank you so much for having me.
Same, actually. It's quite funny. I think we've gone a little bit over time than what we thought, but it was such an interesting conversation. I kept coming up with my own questions.
Yeah, definitely. And if it's a question for you, there's somebody watching that has the exact same question.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I'm going to, for all of you listening, I'm going to Bay's workshop tomorrow in Brisbane. So I can't wait to that. I think that's like half a day on sales.
Yes, it's pretty intense. Like it's pretty next level, but I love it. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people walk away and think, I didn't think that this is what it was going to be, because it is very much about psychology rather than sales tactics and, you know, all of that sort of old school selling that is kind of pushy. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, actually, in our mastermind group last week, someone said they'd been to your workshop and they said the exact same thing. They said it wasn't what I thought.
Oh, people always think that. They always think that. But I kind of love that as well, because it's so much new information. Like it's stuff that's not really, I mean, it could be out there, but it's not everywhere. Like it's not going to something and people have been like, oh, I know this. Like everyone leaves and they're like, well, I never thought about this. Right. So yeah, I love it. And I just love, yeah.
And I think a lot of sales is done, and I think it's starting to change now actually, but the online marketing sales model is pushy, you know, countdown timers. And then if someone doesn't buy that kind of, you know how some people send those emails like making people feel really bad for not buying, and they'll use different angles. Like I just think that really puts people off. And also people are aware of that now. They're consumers online are more aware of the tactics that are being used to be really pushy. And as soon as you're aware, you're not in the conversation anymore. You're not interested.
100%. And I was actually just having this conversation yesterday in terms of someone asked me, where do you think sales is going for 2020? And I said, sales and marketing always needs to be above the current human intelligence, and that's why I love basing it from a psychology perspective, because we're not doing things that we've learnt are sales tactics, because if you've learned it to do it, people also know what it is as well.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we have to be above the current human intelligence, and that's what I love about it. Like it'll never get old, because we're always evolving as we're literally working with people's brains. Like what are they thinking, what are they feeling, like where are they at, what do they currently know, how do we, you know, go through this process at this point. And I'm such a nerd about it. Like I absolutely love it, but it's a game changer. Like, and I'm so passionate about it, because I truly believe like marketing and sales is what grows your business. Like without making sales, you can't invest in branding, you can't invest in team, you can't invest in better systems for customer experience and, you know, product delivery and, you know, all of those sorts of things until you start making that money in your business. And yeah, I think that's why I love it so much, because of the impact that we can create.
And there's no avoiding it. So you may as well find a way that suits you. And I feel like if you're running more of a heart-centered business, and you don't want to go down that road, like I know a lot of people don't want to do a sales funnel because they just feel it's against their integrity, but there are ways to do it in a way that feels good for everyone.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It's about finding the approach that you as an individual want to use in your business, rather than what some sales class from like the early 2000s will teach, you know?
Absolutely. And I think just going back and leaving everyone with the reminder that if you've had a really positive, beautiful sales experience that's heart-centered, supportive, you've been heard, you've been seen, you really felt like someone had really listened and provided something that was really right for you, and they were sure and they gave you assurance that it was the best thing for you, and you were able to make that decision as well, then you can create that for your clients. So don't let that hold you back from selling, because one, you're doing a disservice from them, and two, you're doing a disservice for yourself as well. You created your business to impact people, to be able to help people in whatever way that it was, whether it be from coaching or, you know, a done for you service that you're providing more time for somebody to enjoy their life or do the things that they love. just remember that it comes back to serving. I think that's the most important message that I hope everyone gets out of today.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great note to end on. So where can everyone find out more about you or connect with you online?
Yeah, so usually I'm hanging out on Instagram, so at Bay Bradfield. I'm usually over there. Otherwise, I am on Facebook as well.
Cool. And you had a wee downloadable that you wanted to share today too, didn't you? We'll put that.
Yeah.
I'll put that link below the video. But just tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Yeah, so after chatting with you, Louise, and saying a lot of people were struggling with that kind of mindset space, look, as you can see today, I'm all about science and neuroscience, how the brain works, but I also am a little bit woo-woo as well in terms of the law of attraction, but it's backed by science, right? It's how our brain works. So what I wanted to, give you was affirmations. So there's ones for service-based businesses and product-based businesses, to be able to really step into that abundance, that sales is coming in your direction, money flows easily to you, you support your clients so well, and that's why your business grows. So they're really heart-centered. I use affirmations every day. I stick mine in the shower. Mine are a little bit different. They're more, the more time I devote to looking after myself, my health, the payoff is abundant. So I believe affirmations help us so much and change our mindset. So stick them up in your office or your shower, but just start getting in that really abundant mindset, that really positive. Start loving sales and start focusing on the result. So yeah, you can download that wherever Louise pops it into the comments.
Awesome. I love that approach. Cool. So thanks again so much for giving us your time, and I hope you guys listening have enjoyed this conversation about sales, and I think it's probably a little different to the typical sales conversation we hear about. So Thanks again, and if you've got any questions as well to ask about sales, put them in the comments as well. Thanks, Bay.
Absolutely. Thank you.